You might recognize this specific modern stalemate. One person provides intense observation and deep emotional resonance, yet manages to stay perfectly still. They offer the feeling of a relationship while taking 0 steps toward the reality of one. This diagram illustrates our standard logic for human connection. We expect internal feelings to function as an engine for forward momentum, where mutual effort balances the scales. In these almost relationships, that basic math fails to compute. We've entered a cycle of liquid relationships. Individuals seek the dopamine hit of an emotional bond, but recoil from the structural weight of commitment. They want the high of the connection without the gravity of the responsibility. In this environment, internal feelings and external actions exist in separate, unrelated psychological chambers. Relying on a partner's depth of feeling as a predictor of their future behavior keeps people trapped in an agonizing waiting zone. We are essentially trying to measure a car's speed by looking at the fuel in the tank rather than the movement of the wheels. This stagnation often stems from limerence, a state where the observer falls for an idealized, static version of you that exists only in their imagination. A fantasy requires nothing. It provides the illusion of intimacy without the need for compromise, accountability, or the daily effort required to maintain a real-world bond. When this person encounters a mature, present partner, the fantasy breaks. A real partner has needs, perceptions, and a gaze that looks back. Suddenly, the observer feels visible in ways he can't control, forcing him to face the gap between his current self and who he must become. He retreats because he refuses to develop the maturity and consistency that your presence demands. Staying would require him to evolve, and he has chosen the comfort of his current self over the growth required to be with you. This creates a pattern of avoidance, watching your stories from a distance, sending sporadic messages, and lingering in the safe zone of an incomplete connection, a place where he cannot be judged for failing. His decision to stay distant serves as a metric for his own internal limitations. The gap between you remains a reflection of his refusal to face himself. This raises a difficult question for the one waiting. If you have the vocabulary to see this avoidance clearly, why does your body stay glued to the floor? We currently face a massive disconnect between intellectual data and physical action. We can recite the definitions of red flags and attachment styles, yet we struggle to translate that theoretical knowledge into the act of leaving. Neuroscience shows the prefrontal cortex, the logical brain, registers facts and concludes the relationship is dead. Simultaneously, the limbic system violently overrides this logic, deploying hope as a sedative to numb the pain. This biological trap makes us wait for a transformation that won't happen. We end up living 2 lives: the empowered version of ourselves that shares relationship advice online, and the private version that stays awake waiting for a notification that never comes. Our access to psychological tools has given us a front-row seat to our own heartbreak, making us painfully aware of the distance between what we know we deserve and what we actually accept. Staying in this almost state creates a unique form of guilt, the weight of knowing the truth and failing to act on it. Emotional maturity requires more than an accumulation of psychological facts. It demands a physical crossing of the gap between understanding the situation and deciding to end it. Physics dictates that a vacuum cannot last. When one partner leaves their 50% of the relationship empty of action, that space fills with doubt and anxiety. Closing that gap with your own imagination only prolongs the pain. You are attempting to carry the weight of 2 people while the other remains a spectator. Actualized self-worth appears as a physical release. It's the moment you stop pulling on a rope that the other person has already let go of. True empowerment in this era of liquid connections comes from the necessary step of choosing yourself. The most important action you can take is the one that moves you away from the illusion of a relationship and back toward your own life.